Welcome back, everyone, to the latest episode of An American in Thailand, airing every Friday. This program is broadcast from Ratchamakan, University of Technology, Peranakan. And I'll be bringing this program to you in two parts. For the first part, we will introduce a certain topic about being an American living here in Thailand. Could be about food, travel, culture, whatever. Many different things we talk about here. We'll then take a break, and in the second part of the program, we'll get into some examples and more specifics. All right, let's get to the show. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for An American in Thailand. I am an American English teacher, obviously, an American English teacher, here in Thailand at Ratchamakan University of Technology, Peranakan. I've been teaching here for about 8 years, a little more than that, actually. So I've been here long enough. I have a pretty good sense of Thailand. I'm still learning new things every day. I haven't been here that long. I still do not even speak Thai. I should. 8 years is a long time. But I do not speak Thai. So I'm still learning things. But I think I have a good enough feel for Thailand now so that I'm hosting this program where I'm going to tell you some of the differences between Thailand and America. And today we're going to focus on a cultural issue. It's kind of a fun, silly one. We had a serious topic we did last week. And this week we're going to just talk about something that's a little bit fun and silly. But it is something that's interesting because it is rooted in cultural differences. So what we're going to talk about is the differences in movies, and we're going to talk about one specific type of movie. We're going to talk about horror movies. Seems interesting. Is there really a difference in horror movies between America and Thailand? Yes, there is. The main difference is what type of movies people from the two different cultures, America and Thailand, find scary. In Thai culture, for example, I've learned that ghosts are a big deal. A lot of scary movies include ghosts. In our second half of our program, in fact, we're going to go through a list of the scariest Thai movies versus the scariest U.S. movies. And what you're going to find is that most of the Thai movies are supernatural. That means things that are not really of the earth. They may be God, spirits, demons, things like that. And many of them, so almost all of them, are supernatural. And of those ones that are supernatural, most of them are about ghosts or hauntings. A haunting would be like when a ghost lives somewhere. Now, in some of these, if it's just a haunting, you may not actually see the ghost in the movie. But there's a ghost there. So you're going to see that in Thai culture, it's mostly movies like that. Now, let me be clear. There's plenty of American horror movies that also use this theme. Especially when you're talking just kind of generally about things that are supernatural. In fact, a lot of the top 10 U.S. horror movies, at least half of them, you could argue even maybe a little bit more than that, but at least half deal with the paranormal. Paranormal, supernatural means kind of the same thing. Para means, it almost means like sort of. So, sort of normal. In other words, so it's affecting the real world, so it's sort of here, but it's not really, because it's from the spirit world. It's paranormal. So something weird is going on that forces here on Earth are not controlling. Ooh, scary. So we do see that in about half of the U.S. horror movies. But a lot of those also do not include ghosts necessarily. And again, I'm not saying we never use ghosts. I'll mention another movie that's not actually on our list, but it's not in the top 10. But it's a very popular U.S. horror movie, and the focus is almost exclusively on ghosts. So we definitely do that in U.S. horror movies. It's just that it's much less. It's much less. What is much more common in American horror movies is kind of a different style that's very popular. And it's something that we call a slasher movie. And this usually involves some crazy person that's going around brutally killing people. And sometimes you might think, oh, well, that's just kind of a gross, gory movie. Well, not always. They don't always show all the blood and all the... They may not actually show some of the killings even. They may show a dead person or something like that, but they're not going to show... Some of them do show all of that. Some of them have a lot of gore, but a lot of them don't. A lot of them don't. So this is something that's quite popular in U.S. movies. In fact, many of them are so popular that they turn into franchises. What I mean by a franchise is, after the first one comes out, it's really popular. So they make a second one, and they make a third one, and they make a fourth one, and however many. That's what they mean when they say a movie franchise. Like all of the Avengers movies, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. Even if you don't like those type of movies, I'm sure you've at least heard of the Avengers. That's a franchise. Lots of different movies. It's not horror. That's more action-adventure. But that's a franchise. Some of them still do some paranormal ideas. For example, one of the franchises is Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't believe that's in our list of the top movies. I'd have to look at my list that I have here. Actually, they do have it on the list. That is on the list, actually. And the bad guy in that movie is Freddy Krueger. And he's able to attack people in their dreams. Obviously, that's not real. So that's paranormal. That's supernatural. So it's sort of supernatural, but he's also not a ghost. You could argue that he's a ghost because in real life he's dead, but he's doing it to people in their sleep, so it's really just a dream. Not sure you'd say that's a ghost. Okay? You also have Friday the 13th, where you could, again, argue that there's some supernatural here, because Jason has to literally come... Jason, he's the bad guy, literally has to come back from the dead. But, again, to say it's paranormal, that's not really a big theme of the movie. And just in case you like these type of movies and plan on watching them, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but I'll just say the movie that started it, the very first entry in this franchise, is not at all paranormal. There's nothing supernatural. So, again, only sort of. And it's kind of the same thing with Halloween, the Halloween franchise. It seems like it's impossible to kill Michael Myers. And in that sense, it's kind of paranormal. And they hint at that in the most recent movies that came out over the last few years. Generally, though, no. That wasn't a thing in the original couple of movies. He's just a crazy guy. That's it. He's a crazy guy. Nothing supernatural. So again, they may include a little bit of supernatural stuff in there, a little bit of paranormal stuff. But mostly, these are just crazy people doing crazy stuff. That's how a lot of the U.S. horror movies are. All right? And some of them also don't have any slasher movies, some of these slasher movies, don't have any paranormal at all. For example, one of the most famous ones, which again, I'm not sure if it's on my list. I think it is. I have to check my notes here. I had to print these out because there's so many. Yes, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's just a crazy guy and his crazy family. That's all just about crazy people killing people. That's all that is. There's absolutely no paranormal, supernatural activity going on at all in that movie. So again, that's the big difference, is that in Thai movies, they really like to focus on supernatural things, and especially ghosts. In U.S. movies, U.S. horror movies, there's plenty of them that do have some paranormal. Plenty of them do. Several of the ones on the list, I'm going to go through the list for you, the top 10. Several of them do. But certainly far from all of them. It's only about half of them. Some of them are kind of borderline, like I said, like whether or not you include Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween, or I would say Nightmare on Elm Street, you'd probably include that as paranormal because it's in people's dreams and this dead guy comes to life in their dreams. Halloween, probably not, because even though there's some paranormal idea there to the fact that Michael Myers doesn't die. Michael Myers is the name of the bad guy. He doesn't die. That's not really how the franchise started. That wasn't the concept. He's just a crazy guy. All right. So we're going to go through this list. We'll look at the top 10 horror movies in both Thailand and the U.S., and you will notice that difference that I'm talking about when you look at this list of 10 films. All right. So we will get back to that after our first break. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. Welcome back, everyone. All right, so in today's episode, we are talking about the difference in horror movie preferences between the U.S. and Thailand. And I think it's very interesting because it's related to culture. Now, I have a list. You're going to see me constantly looking down here if you're watching on YouTube, because I needed some notes here to know what the top 10 are. So I do not really watch any Thai movies. So I just asked ChatGPT to give me a list of the top 10 Thai horror movies. Okay? And to make sure we're consistent with what we're considering the top 10, I didn't want to make my own list for the U.S. So I asked ChatGPT to do the same thing for the top 10 U.S. horror movies. Just so that we're consistent, let ChatGPT come up with the list for us. Okay. So here's the top 10 for Thailand. And as we go through this, again, I haven't watched them, so I'm just basing this on their brief description. I'm going to talk about whether or not they are paranormal, and if they're paranormal, whether some of that paranormal stuff includes ghosts. Okay, so number 1 on the Thai list is Shudder from 2004. Based on the brief description that ChatGPT gives me, it seems like there are ghosts showing up in photographs. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. But clearly we have ghosts. Ghosts are paranormal. So we have paranormal and we have ghosts. So this hits both of them. All right. The next one is PMAC from 2013. And here, again, I'm just going based on the brief description from ChatGPT. But we're talking about someone going home to his wife, and his wife might be dead. Well, if she's dead and he's with her, she's got to be a ghost. So, paranormal, ghost. Number 3, La La Land from 2011. Okay, this one, the description specifically says it's haunted by a terrifying ghost. They move into a new house, haunted by a terrifying ghost. So, obviously, paranormal, ghost. Next one is The Medium from 2021. This one talks about a possession. That's going to be more of a demon force. It's not really the same as a ghost. So this one is paranormal. The Medium is paranormal. It's not a ghost story. There could be spirits. I don't know. Again, I haven't seen it. But probably, at least not specifically, what we would think of as a ghost. Now, maybe for Thai folks in Thai culture, you might think of it as the same. So maybe me saying that The Medium has no ghosts in it, you might be like, well, yes, of course it does. I don't know. Again, I haven't seen it. But just based on the way it's described, this sounds more like a demon. And so for my definition of what we would say is that it's definitely paranormal, because it's not of this world. A demon is a spirit form. But it is not actually a ghost, per se. A ghost is more of a dead person coming back. Not a demon. Okay, number 5 is Alone from 2007. Okay, and it says a conjoined twin separated by surgery returns as a vengeful spirit. This is a person coming back as a spirit. That's a ghost. Paranormal, ghost. All right, Neng Nak is next on the list. And it says it's based on the legendary Maynak ghost story. So I guess it's a ghost story, isn't it? So once again, as this one's easy. Paranormal, ghost. Okay, number 7 is The Promise from 2017. All right, and so I guess 2 girls are supposed to both kill themselves. One of them survives. Again, I haven't seen the movie. I don't know if she survives because she changed her mind at the last second and didn't do it, or she just happens to survive. And so then the other one who's dead comes back to haunt her. That's clearly a ghost. Paranormal, ghost. So far we've gone through the first 7. All 7 are paranormal. 6 of them are ghost. 1 of them is demon. Okay, number 8 is Dorm from 2006. And this is the same thing as we're like the guy coming home to his wife and the wife may not be alive. Same idea. Boy goes to a school, befriends a classmate. Classmate may not be alive. That's a ghost. Another ghost story. Paranormal, ghost. Okay, next one, number 9, is Phobia from 2008. And it's hard for me to know because this is a compilation. I'm guessing there's probably at least one of the stories in here that has a ghost. I can tell that there's definitely supernatural, but whether there's ghosts in here or not, I'm not sure. So this is also going to be supernatural. At least some of the stories are supernatural. Whether or not there's ghosts, I don't know about Phobia. And number 10 is Coming Soon. And haunted film reels into real life when projectionists investigate a cursed horror movie. All right, so that's obviously paranormal. Is that actually ghosts? Would you call that ghosts? I don't know. So we got 2 of these that are questionable, right? 2 of these are questionable. Phobia and Coming Soon. Let's say one is, one isn't a ghost story, just to make it easy, okay? So Phobia and Coming Soon. One is a ghost story. one isn't. And the medium, we decided, is a demon story, not a ghost story. So all 10 are supernatural. All 10. 8 are ghost stories. It could be 7, it could be 9. Again, not sure about those last 2. But it's about 8. Now, if we look at the American films, we start out with The Exorcist. Number 1 is The Exorcist. Honestly, this is rated the number 1 horror movie because I don't believe in this type of stuff. I actually think the movie's funny. I mean, it's a great movie. I like it too, but I think it's funny. The crazy, weird stuff they do in this movie, I think it's just funny. Okay. So anyway, it's about a girl. In case you don't know, I will explain these maybe a tiny bit more because you may not know these movies. It's about a girl possessed by a demon. Okay, so this is a demon film. So it is paranormal. We do have that at least. It's supernatural. Not a ghost. Remember, demon, ghost, not the same. Not a ghost. Heredity. This is from 2018. By the way, The Exorcist is an old movie. It's from 1973. Heredity is newer, 2018. This is about a family being cursed. I actually have not seen this movie. I really want to. I was just thinking about watching it this past weekend. I want to watch this movie. It has an actress in it who I absolutely love, and I've heard she's great in this movie. So all I can go on is based on the description. It's a curse, so that's probably supernatural, but it's not a ghost. So at least we do have 2 supernaturals. But already, right off the top, first 2, no ghost. Get Out. This is also one I have not seen. Based on the description, I believe these are bad people. I do not think it's supernatural. I cannot tell entirely based on the description. But I don't think there's any supernatural. And there's certainly no mention of a ghost. So Get Out from 2017, no supernatural. Again, I could be wrong. I haven't seen this one. I should see this too because I like horror movies, and this was very, very popular. Very popular. Haven't seen it. But from what I can tell, no supernatural, no ghost. Halloween. We talked about this in the first part of the program. Yes, you can argue it's paranormal because they can't kill Michael Myers. That's not... We're talking about the original here. Even on the list, it specifically says Halloween 1978. We're talking about the original. No, it's just crazy guy. No supernatural, no ghost. The Shining. This actually does have ghosts. Dead people appear. Lots of them. Several times in this movie. So The Shining. Paranormal and ghosts. Now, the way they appear, they're not all necessarily the bad guy, although they're not all necessarily good either. Like the father of the twins. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to give spoilers in case you haven't seen the movie and want to watch it. But the main bad person in the movie is not a ghost, but it does have ghosts, so we will count that. Paranormal, ghosts, yes. That's The Shining from 1980. Next one, A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. All right, so this one I also talked about in the first part. We will call it paranormal. Is he really a ghost? I'm going to have to say no. And the reason is because ghosts come into the real world, right? That's how they do their haunting. He never comes into the real world. Freddy Krueger, the bad guy, he is able to attack people in their dreams. It's not a ghost. So far we're down through number 6. We've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 that are paranormal, and 1 that is ghost. Okay, number 7, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mentioned this one in the first part of our program. Absolutely not. Absolutely no paranormal. No, well, I guess some people might think the grandpa is paranormal because he should be dead. Again, I'm not going to give away too much if you want to watch the movie. But No. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we're talking about the original from 1974. No paranormal, no ghost. Scream, 1996. I don't even think this should be on the list. But again, I told you I'm going to let ChatGPT make the list. This is a masked killer. This is just a person killing people. No paranormal, no ghost. But it's really satire. It's intended to be funny, which is why I don't think it should be on the list. The Conjuring. This is a family is haunted by a powerful spirit. Obviously, that's paranormal. Is that a ghost? They say a powerful spirit. So I wouldn't think of it as being a ghost. But it does say they're haunted. That's usually a ghost. I don't know. This is another one that's really popular that I haven't seen. I said I love horror movies, and several of these I haven't seen. I haven't seen number 10 either, which we'll get to in a moment. Definitely going to say this is paranormal. So, yes, paranormal. Ghost, I'm 50-50 on that. And then the last one is Us from 2019. I have not seen that one either, but it says a family is hunted by their terrifying doppelgangers during a beach vacation. That sounds weird. Sounds like crazy people. Doesn't sound paranormal. Doesn't sound like ghosts. So that's not paranormal or ghosts. So, you go through that total list. We've got 5 paranormal movies. 1 with ghosts. Maybe 2, depending on what the spirit is in The Conjuring. And in the other one, like I said, the ghosts aren't even really the bad guy. They show up. They're kind of creepy and scary. But they're not the bad guy. The bad guy's a normal human. That's from The Shining. Well, I don't know if he's normal. He's a bit crazy in the movie, but he's a human. Okay, so sorry, I'm just flipping through my notes here because I seem to be missing a page. All right, so let's remember, all of the Thai movies are paranormal. Top 10. Again, I did not make this list. I let ChatGPT just do the work because I haven't seen the Thai movies, so I don't want to have any bias here. All 10 Thai movies are paranormal. Top 10 horror movies. Half of the top U.S. horror movies are paranormal. How many have ghosts? It's about 8. It could be 7, could be 9. About 8 of the top 10 Thai horror movies are ghost movies. 1, maybe 2 top U.S. movies are horror movies. Okay, so there's a huge difference here. Huge difference. Like I said, we can argue about Freddy Krueger and Nightmare on Elm Street. So maybe you get to 2 with The Conjuring. Then maybe you could even get to 3 ghost stories with Nightmare on Elm Street, if you consider Freddy Krueger a ghost. That's still nothing. That's still less than half compared to the Thai movies. So why the difference? Why is there this big difference? My guess is it's probably due to the belief in spirits. While the U.S. is more religious than most Western industrialized countries, all of those countries are still less religious than most of the rest of the world. So the U.S. is not all that religious. Also, within their main religion, which is Christianity, there's not really a very strong belief in ghosts or spirits. There's some belief, like, of demons and angels. Definitely a belief in angels. In fact, their whole main story of Jesus and all of that involves an angel. So there's definitely a belief in that. So there's a belief in spirits in that regard. But, people coming back from the dead and things like that, that's not... There's just not a very strong belief in that. And I'm not saying that nobody believes that. There are some people that certainly do. Certainly. Lots of people believe in that. But it's not the majority. And this is the majority religion. So most people in America don't believe in ghosts. So a horror movie is meant to scare you. Why are they going to put ghosts in horror movies? They don't scare. If you don't believe in them, they're not going to really scare you. They're not going to be very scary if you don't believe in them. In fact, I can really only think of one huge American horror movie where ghosts are kind of like the central feature. And that's the movie Poltergeist. And that one also was a franchise. It is big. There are 3 of them. I don't know if they made more after that. It's really the first 3 are the most popular. I do think they might have remade it. I'm not sure about that, though. I think there's a recent remake. I have not seen that. I've seen all 3 of the first 3 Poltergeist movies. That's about ghosts. All right. So there are, and again, I'm not saying they don't do paranormal. Half of the ones on our U.S. list were paranormal. There are other movies that are very scary that are paranormal. There's one not on this list, which is one of my favorites, and a lot of people list it as the scariest movie. It's called Sinister. But that's an evil demon doing that stuff, not a ghost. So there are things that are paranormal that aren't ghosts. So the difference really here is more about ghosts. The difference is using ghosts in the movies. I mean, is there some difference in the number of movies that are paranormal? Well, I guess technically there are. We just went through it. It's all 10 on the Thai side and just half on the U.S. side. But that might be because the Thai side is using ghosts, which are automatically going to be paranormal. So, but there's plenty of paranormal on the U.S. movie side. It's really this whole ghost idea. There's not a big belief in ghosts. Again, that's not to say they can't do it. Not to say you can't make a good movie with ghosts. One of the best movies ever made, which I don't really consider a horror movie, but a few people do, is The Sixth Sense. Has ghosts in it. They're not really the bad guy. They're actually, in that story, there really is no bad guy, which is why I say it's not a horror movie. The ghosts seem like the bad guy for a while, but they're not really. So that's really what I see the difference being, is it's the belief in ghosts. And that in the American culture, you can't use them in a horror movie. And even like I mentioned with The Sixth Sense being a great movie, it's not really a horror movie. So it's fine. It's fine for just telling a story. But it's hard to use them in a horror movie because people don't believe in them. So it's not scary. You're supposed to scare people with a horror movie. So, I think that's an interesting difference between Thai and American culture. And I wanted to talk about that today with you guys to discuss the difference between Thai and American horror movies. Because it's something, even though it's kind of a silly topic, not important, it's something that's very much related to the culture. All right, so that's going to do it for today's program. Thank you for joining us once again for An American in Thailand. I'd encourage any young people who are listening out there to take a look at our university. Check it out. Ratchamakhan, University of Technology, Peranakan. We've got a good university here, and we'd love to have you attend. All right, please stay with us, and make sure you tune back in next week for another interesting topic. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.